Design. Day 2. So, last we left off, we were identifying problems with our cell phone stand. Today, I'm going to start off and just recap a little bit by shrinking my face. Now, here, I've identified 5 problems that I found with our cell phone stand. The angle is set. Okay, I'm trying to show you where my thinking is so you can understand what we're doing here. One problem that I noticed is that the angle is set. You can't adjust that angle very well. Number 2, what if my cell phone is playing music, the speaker is coming out of the bottom, it doesn't come out the front, and I notice that it's not that loud. I want a spot to put my charging cable. So if I'm using this for extended periods of time, I don't want my cable to fall off my table all the time. That's a problem. It slides on the table. It doesn't really have a lot of friction here with the paper on a hard surface, so it slides. That's a problem. And this doesn't work if I have a pop socket on my phone. These are all problems. Yours could also include aesthetics, whether or not it looks desirable. It could be portability. These are all problems that you can list out very quickly. But at this point in the design process, we need to choose one. You can't fix everything all at once. It's like the scientific method, where you only change one variable to study whether or not you're making a change. So, now that we've identified these different things, what we need to do are identify our constraints. Constraints, it's the manpower you have, it's the tools you have, it's the materials you have. Because if I'm trying to, let's say, amplify the sound of my music, by researching, I can find out that metal actually reflects sound waves better than paper. Paper wiggles more. So, using aluminum foil might be a really good material for me to have, if I have it. So at this point, and in today's document, you're going to identify what materials you have available to you. Once you know your materials, that's when we get into the next stage of the design process. So, go in here. No. There we go. All right. So, we identify the pain points. Those are the criteria that we can test. Then we constraints. You can pause and check out constraints. Okay, step 2, sketch. At this point, we've chosen one problem, and now we got to start looking into how we fix it. So the first step of stage 2 is where you research things that have been done. A lot of times, people have had the same problem, and so they have tried solving this, and you can learn from seeing what other people have done. Don't reinvent the wheel. If it's already been done and it's been successful, you can use that to satisfy your needs. Or, this is where your knowledge, your mathematical, your scientific, your artistic, any background that you have can come into play, and you can use that to help you think of how you can approach a solution. So once you've identified some possible methods of going about this, or you've brainstormed it yourself, that's where you actually get to the brainstorming phase. This is part 2 of the sketch phase. This is where you're going to get your ideas on paper. One major aspect of this: quantity, not quality. Playskool, the company that makes children's toys, they have a design process where in this brainstorming phase they have a special room where every surface is a whiteboard. What they'll do is they'll close the door and they put all of their design engineers in a room, and they don't leave that room. The bathroom breaks and stuff aside, but they don't move on until they have 1,000 ideas for a new toy. 1,000. Now, not every single one of these is going to be manufactured. One of them. But they're trying to get their ideas out, because once you just draw a simple picture of something, maybe it isn't the solution, but maybe that triggers somebody else and their background and their knowledge, and you can compile all your ideas together and create one manufacturable and potentially successful toy. So, quantity, not quality. You have to have at least more than one for this project. For my example, going back to my problem with the angle of this phone stand. So this phone stand doesn't have an adjustable angle. How can I approach this? Well, I can sketch some simple pictures. What if I were to fill this gap with material? That would then extend this upward. It could work. I'd have to test it. Another thing, I could make a part that connects to this base. It could be another piece of paper that holds it up a little bit. Maybe it extends further back so that it doesn't fall off balance, because I know that I need to have the center of gravity. If it goes off that tipping point, it's going to fall backwards. So because of my background, I know it's got to be a little further. I could use longer paper and make this part come out further. It's not adjustable, but it's an idea. I would draw pictures of all my different ideas, and I'd dedicate time to this because it's important to really stretch that brain. Otherwise, if you just go for the first thing, nobody gets anything right on their first try. You need to think about it. Otherwise, you could be investing all your time, your energy, your money into an idea that isn't the best possible idea. Last stage, present. Now, in this stage, it's where you've identified one brainstormed idea, or you've mixed them all together and you have one concept. This is what I'm going for. And now you are going to design it with detail. We are going to get into technical drawings, but these are very precise drawings with measurements, with specific pictures of the object rotated so that you can see every bit of information needed to build the prototype. CAD, that's 3D design, two-dimensional or 3D design, where you use a computer. I could also utilize CAD, or computer modeling, to make a representation of my prototype to help me share my idea. Last thing, how will it be manufactured? If I don't know how I'm going to make this, it's not going to be very helpful. Now, the idea here is that if you're an employee and you're an engineer and you are coming up with an idea for something, you have to present your idea to the boss. They are going to decide to spend potentially millions of dollars working on your idea. Now, if you don't show them that you cared enough to think about all the details, they are not going to put in that much money. So this stage is where you are going to be investing in detail. Now, your tasks for today. Number 1, you are picking one problem that you are trying to improve. Number 2, you are listing out your constraints. I will put the time there because we're going to have that this week, but that's something you don't get to choose. Let's see. Number 3, after you've listed what materials you have, all those constraints that you have, you're going to post pictures of any research that you've done. Anything. I want at least one image of something you might try and use, or some concept that you might try to apply. And the last thing, number 4, you are going to sketch at least 2 different ideas and write some comments explaining what the idea is, because your pictures don't have to be perfect. Remember, quantity, not quality. Each image should not take too long to draw. It's more about thinking about what it is and getting it on the paper. Happy making!